Hi, everyone.
Dynamite.
We are live. Saturday, October 7th, 2023, day before the New York Giants.
As you can see, it's probable for Sunday.
I told you I was gonna be in there.
He's doing the walkthrough.
That's good. I like that. I love those analogies. By the way, somebody on X said that my DNP for Thursday Men did not podcast.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes,
that's good.
Go
ahead.
The streak had been stopped. I was just like, man, we've been going for so long. I kind of missed you. Every day.
Miss you.
So here we're gonna have new rules to this. Okay, we're
new
not,
rules. Go ahead.
We're not going to discontinue a conversation just to bring up the the Paymaster chats. I can't remember what they're called.
Chats.
Super chats. Yes, we're going to continue conversations because people didn't like that. People also want us to incorporate the conversations in the chat, in the regular chat, in the regular comments, and they want us to incorporate the Twitter live conversation and Twitter discussions. So,
okay,
that's what we're going to do.
We give the people what they want. By the way, I still have hair, just for those wondering.
Yeah, you got a nice full set of hair. Like I'm graying a little bit, as you guys can see. I'm starting to age. It's all this stress. But actually, this has been one of the more enjoyable Dolphin seasons for me, primarily because.
Oh, thanks, Omar, because you're working with me. Oh.
That wasn't the answer. I didn't do it last year, and even though it was getting kind of annoying, or dealing with just the regular, just casual Dolphin fans, or maybe Tuanon is kind of annoying. When I left, I didn't enjoy it, but I really learned how much I appreciate just the little things about what I do, primarily the locker room, and everybody looks at that as kind of some people look at it as kind of a nuisance that we have to be in the locker room for 45 minutes to get the information we need and whatnot. I look at it as an honor, because I could tell you, and even players who retire will tell you, there's nothing in the world that replicates a sports locker room. There's nothing. I mean, just Friday, I was having a conversation with Robert Hunt and Savon Ahmed, and we were discussing the Drake new album for a good 10 minutes. And we were talking about the young hip hop versus older hip hop, which is what I prefer, and that people don't make albums. And I was making the point and arguing to them that people don't make albums anymore because your generation doesn't want albums or doesn't respect albums. But then when you look at it and you look at the great albums that have been made in this era, which are, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, Igor by Tyler, the Creator, then people are like, wow, the artistry, the mastery, even the last.
Those are awesome.
But it's really an issue. And so Drake has a new album, which I haven't finished, and I have not listened to in its entirety. And I probably need to have 3 listens to before I can give some sort of synopsis or review. But just to have those conversations in the locker room is important. And so and you don't get a locker room. Even when I worked with I Am Athlete, we were trying to replicate what the locker room was as a podcast. And I think that there's value to that. Unfortunately, it was run by a narcissistic idiot, and that doesn't exist. That it doesn't exist anymore. But I think there's value in that. So that's what we try to do. Yeah.
Somebody in the comments goes, I'm all about J. Cole and Drake. Drake is a fellow Canadian dude like me, but no.
So that means you got to listen to the latest album and give a review.
I'm not opposed to it. Huh? Dude, I'm gonna make a confession here. So yesterday, my wife was working. I was still in recovery mode, so I was just in full chill mode. And I'm like, let me get what this whole Taylor Swift phenomenon is. There's a documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
About her. Like, I know my wife, one of her 17 million alarms on her phone is a song called Reputation that I like. It's very cool. I despise Shake It Off.
Okay.
And then, so let me see what the big deal is about. I mean, because she sells out
Does your daughter like her?
Stadium. Yeah, but she would take offense to the term Swiftie.
Okay, so she's not a Swiftie.
So I watched a documentary, and it's like, beyond the fact that as a person, I was like, thumbs up. Like every song that she played, and then they showed like her creating songs. It was like, damn, I mean, this is good stuff. It's like good stuff. I'm always open, but you know my wheelhouse. I'm all about melody. You're kind of more about rhythm. And am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Okay.
But I want you to listen to Drake, your fellow Canadians, All My Dogs. It's his new album.
Okay.
And give me your review. I want to know what you think. Because I have to give Robert Hunt a report card on Drake's album and then another artist that he's into, which I could tell you, which I have absolutely, this is the young generation. His name is Tizo Touchdown. So I'm going to listen to Tizo Touchdown's album too. So
I have never heard of him. But then again, I could name you 17 artists that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
So yeah, our musical wheelhouses are kind of like one over here, one over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our football opinions are not, and I think we have to disagree a little bit more because people are wondering, like, why do we always have the same opinions about things and players?
I think you're wrong about that. See what I did there?
We were just having a private conversation about Javon Holland that's
no longer private.
I'm not scared to say it.
I'm not scared to say it either.
Just a tad overrated. Just a tad.
Yeah.
And Dolphin fans think he's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, where's the play? Yep. Where if he was covering Darren Waller, if the Dolphins said, okay, you know what, Juwan, you're such an elite player, we're going to put you on Darren Waller so you can neutralize him. Then I'll be like, all right. Mm-hmm. Or the game-changing interceptions, or, okay, you forced 2 fumbles against, who was it?
Denver, and one of them was just, woof. One of them was like a little light tap on the ball, and whoop, there it went against Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. Go ahead. So we got go to. Let's actually get to some of these questions early on in the chat, and then we can go to the Paymaster question. Dolphins off. Michael Varcellery says Dolphins offense will never be elite with Liam in the lineup, and I believe that is accurate.
Wow, overreaction much? Jesus!
It's not an overreaction.
It's one game. You make no room for the possibility that the dude could get better. Wow, harsh.
I was defending. Here's the thing. I spent all offseason defending Liam because I thought he's Notre Dame. There's no way he can't be good because Notre Dame produces. But then Wisconsin did the same thing. When I watched the game casually last year, I was just like, he's not that bad. He's got some upside. He's supposed to be technically sound. But then, and it doesn't matter. I watched all the training camp. I saw him on skates. What you saw against Buffalo on skates, I'm sorry. There was, and I said this and I mean it, and it's deep in my core. The Dolphins will never beat Buffalo if 4 rushers can beat 5 offensive linemen. And they did that consistently. Like, you don't have to blitz to get pressure on Tua. And then they could just drop everybody back and cover everything. Like, you're never going to beat Buffalo like that.
Can we not pretend that they didn't have 3 long touchdown drives, though? Can we not do that?
They did have that, but
they're not going to give up 48 points every time they play Buffalo. At least I hope not. Otherwise, they will never beat Buffalo.
but fundamentally, you're not going to be able to beat them if you cannot protect Tua. And they don't need to blitz to get after Tua. That's just a recipe for disaster. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You have 5 offensive linemen and 5 guys can't block 4 defensive linemen.
Where did they lose the game on Sunday?
In the trenches.
How about on defense? Because again, they scored 20 points. Mm-hmm. That's where they missed 2-point conversion. They had, at the end of the game, they went for it on 4th down and near the goal line, where normally they would have kicked a field. That's 24 points, which is not a great scoring total, but if your defense shows up, puts you in the ballgame. So to me, yeah, the pass protection wasn't ideal.
Are you putting this on Cater?
Well, wow, rude. No, I'm not putting it just on Cater. I'm putting it on the whole defense. He wasn't the only one who was booty cheeks on defense.
I mean, but okay. I mean, the Bills could do whatever they wanted to do.
Offensively, yes. Offensively, correct.
Okay. So
and
you're
also,
saying that I'm putting too much responsibility on the offense? I mean, you know you got to keep pace. You got to keep pace with Buffalo. You turn the ball over.
Pace. That's unrealistic to ask your offense to score 48 points. And again, this is something that is so often lacking in an analysis of a game. Look at how every possession ends, as opposed to like, oh, they only did that. Okay. They had
2 fumbles.
They had 2 fumbles. One of them was on 3rd and 1 that got completely busted.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember. They went outside
to Raheem Mostert. An interception.
Correct. The interception is a bad throw of kind of a force. Then the fumble was a 3rd and 1 that was going. No, he's going to lose 2 yards anyway. At least he shouldn't have fumbled, but that's a different story. It wasn't like they were like stymied off. Again, they had 3 long, good touchdown drives. So this notion that the offensive line got killed, I think it's a little bit of a stretch. It's a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, they did.
Did they get killed when they were going 75 yards for a touchdown?
That's on the first 2 drives. Buffalo adjusted.
And the first drive of the second half. When they made it. I want to throw out a stat here that I looked up because I brought it up yesterday. And I did look it up. Dolphins as double-digit favorites since the start of the 2020. By the way, I saw somebody put on Twitter, can't remember the last time the Dolphins were 12-point favorites. How about last year? They were 14-point favorites against Houston, and they won 30-15. Since 2020, this is time number 5, they're double-digit favorites. 2020 against the Jets, they won 24-0. 2020 against Cincinnati, they won 19-7. 2021 against the Jets, they won 31-24. And then last year. So they're 4-0. They covered 3 times.
All right, let's do your highlighty thing.
John Marr, thank you very much to put the hat. That's why I'm wearing the hat, actually. I was going to do the podcast without the hat. Maybe next time without the hat. Seems like Holland has been the same player for 3 years.
Oh, hey, you're not clicking on it, brother.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Okay. And I just looked it up while we were talking to. Do with this what you wish. Is Pro Football Reference metrics passer rating when targeted 115.0 this year. Last year 113.9. Year before 109.7. Had 2 picks in 2021, 2 picks in 2022. You can shake your head all you want. Those are the metrics. I said you can do with those.
I don't like. Okay, I don't like. This is why I was really out on Pro Football Focus grade.
This is not Pro Football Focus.
I know that's Pro Football Reference. Just hear me out. I really don't like grades for players, especially when it comes to the secondary and especially when it comes to the offensive line, because 1, you don't know their responsibility.
Completely fair.
You have absolutely no idea. Just because a wide receiver's in the area of the defender, that doesn't mean that was his responsibility, because there are broken plays all the time. I hate that. And Pro Football Focus used to come out with grades before they even had the access to the coach's film. They used to come out with grades for players.
Yeah.
Sunday evening, coach's film wasn't available till Tuesday morning. I'm like, okay, so how you do that? How you watching the secondary? Like, anyway, let me not go there because I don't want to knock anybody's hustle. So, but to get to your point, a safety's responsibility. I mean, how often is he lining up on a guy and like covering him downfield or trailing him downfield? It very rarely ever happens. So but is everybody struggling in the secondary? Yes, everybody's struggling on defense. There isn't anybody outside of Andrew Van Ginkel who isn't struggling on defense.
Okay. And here's my point on this. I wasn't excuse me. I apologize for the occasional coughing that I will be doing, but such is life in the big city. I wasn't bringing up those advanced metrics just to say, aha, see, I told you he wasn't playing well. No, again, to me, it's always number one for me. Sorry if that offends anybody. My eyes. Okay, I know what it's supposed to look like. I've done this again a long
3 decades.
Yeah, a long ass time. And
give my Waffle House sponsor a shout out.
There you go. Where are the hash browns?
Had them in my tummy.
Get in my belly. Get in my
belly.
And we have heard, this is not when he got drafted, we have heard he made a couple of splash plays early on, and all of a sudden you can hear this guy's a star in the making. And now Vic Fangio arrives, and his history, he has safeties in the Pro Bowl pretty much every year. So it's like, look at Javon Holland's going to take the next step. He's going to become one of the best safeties in the NFL. Then he has the 2 fumble forced game against Denver. Brian Baldinger, who is a guy whose work I respect tremendously, anointing him as maybe the best safety in the NFL. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it. And to me, he doesn't even look like a Pro Bowl safety right now.
You're for people to praise you, your unit's got to be playing well, in my opinion. Like, I don't even care if it's Aaron Donald. If your unit is bottom 5 in the league, statistically, like, you get no praise. You get no love because it's a team game. But when your side of the team sucks, and that's really the only way to correlate the Dolphins, because right now, so far in the first 4 games of the season, and yes, they are credited with delivering 2 wins, the Patriots and the Chargers, because they finished off the game, but they suck. And I don't think they would argue that they suck because they're not comfortable. I wrote a column about it. I hope you read it because it was not a column that I wrote on my behalf. It was a column that was requested to get a message across that apparently people aren't listening to. And an indicator that there's a problem, and if we don't address this problem, it's going to become an even bigger problem.
And this is the part where we tell everybody that the column can be found on alldolphins.com, where all of the stories that Omar writes, the columns that he writes, and the stories and the analysis pieces and the news stories that both Omar and I do, everything is free. And by the way, if you're on X and you follow us there, I hope you're aware that there's a new thing there. And when we put a link to our stories, you just click on the picture to get to that story.
And if you want to find our work very easily, all you got to do is type in #AllDolphins. You can find everything, the podcasts, the stories. You can find your whole gallery. You don't need to go anywhere else. And not to say you can't go other places, because I loved Joe Shad's profile piece on Devon, and I'm just gonna stop saying his last name. It feels so uncomfortable.
It does. Why is there an E at the end of the name?
Yeah, Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle, they've been playing together since like youth sports, Pop Warner and basketball. So they've been teammates for forever. And Joe wrote about that. And then also Chris Perkins, my former colleague with the Sun Sentinel, he wrote a column about the center crisis that the Dolphins are undergoing. And even though me and him fought about it because he was really upset with me because you missed this because you were out all week. I walked into the locker room and Chris was like, why are you going to put Liam on? Why are you going to blame Liam for injuring Teron? And I was like, and I did that on Twitter, and I take full responsibility for it and provided the video because Liam did get Teron hurt, and you need to take ownership for it. And basically, Chris was like, why you did that to that man? And I said, because it happened. He said, he's not responsible for it. Then Chris goes into the locker room. Liam took full responsibility for getting Teron Armstead hurt.
Yeah, but you're forgetting a couple of facts. Fact number one is AJ Epinesa pushed Teron Armstead back close to Tua. That's number one. And then number two, AJ Epinesa gave Armstead a little
dirty shove.
I'm your daddy shove at the end of the play to like prove his manhood at the end, which was unnecessary because the ball had gone.
Football. My shoulders are shrugged. I used to cover a Florida State team when Florida State was at the height of its greatness. And you know what their agenda was every single week? To hurt the quarterback and put him out the game. And you know they did it every single week on a national championship run. Corey Simon, Richard Seymour, like the best, all first rounders.
Richard Seymour played at Georgia, Omar. Sorry, Richard Seymour played at Georgia.
Wadsworth.
Andre Wadsworth, Peter Bulware.
Yes. Okay. Yes. But man, you are old.
Thank you.
And have the memory like an elephant. And they did not hide it. Our job is to put you out the game. And Buffalo plays with that approach.
No. Derek, thank you very much. Try to set up channels so people can join.
What are channels?
I know. Again, Omar and I know a little bit about football. I know a lot about music. Omar, not really, but but when it comes to technical stuff like that, we'll look into it and talk to people whom I know, because I thought you click on All Dolphins podcast every time you go to YouTube and you'll find it. So I'm not sure what the requirements are. Love you guys. We have to answer the question since it's out there. Will you still appear on Big O, or are those days over? For me, I'm pretty sure those days are over.
Big O fired me a long time ago.
We had a mutual parting of the ways.
I prefer to say I was fired. You chose not to, we're building our own thing. Big O views us as competitors. It is what it is.
Oh, but that wasn't the only factor. Trust me, that wasn't the only factor. So I'll leave it at that.
Anyway, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about Big O on the podcast.
No.
Love the brother, respect him. Hope he continues to do well and be successful, because I want everybody to be successful. As I've always said in this podcast world, there's enough for everybody. It's like ice cream shops. Just because other people like other flavors, that doesn't mean the ice cream shop has to limit how many flavors that they're offering. Like, do you, brother? What was I going to say to you? And you were fired, by the way.
Wow. Please tell me something I don't know, like I wasn't involved in there. Omar, and you know me and facts.
You were fired, brother.
I was not fired. It was a mutual parting of the ways. If that's how Big O wants to spin it, by all means.
You were fired.
Okay.
All right. I'm having too much fun with this.
That's right.
I got fired.
Almost funny.
But I got fired because I really got fired because I'm doing QAM. He could have chose to keep me on while I'm doing QAM pregame show, but hey, as you say, I got I got a roster. I do have a roster. Like, it is what it is. But
right.
You are my
and
number one.
I don't want to get.
Hey, you are my number one, Poop.
Oh,
you're my starting shooting guard.
I don't want to get into it. It wasn't as simple as you doing the All Dolphins podcast, so you're out. That wasn't the deal. There was more at play than that. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. Is scheme to blame for
Jason? Thank you very much.
How are you, Jason? Is scheme to play for the run defense? We can't give offenses everything. Poupard, would you like to explain your thought process on why the Dolphins defense has been mediocre this season?
Because it has sucked. How's that for expert analysis? Here's the thing. With everything like this, it's just too easy to say it's the scheme. It's the players not adapting to the scheme. It's strictly the players. How about it's a combination of everything? I've seen, not always, but I have seen several occasions where I'm watching Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer getting pushed the way I didn't see him last year. Now, one of the staples of a Vic Fangio scheme is 1.5 gap technique for the D lineman, as opposed to 1 gap on the previous scheme, where it's basically shoot up the field, and which allows for a lot more aggressiveness. Whereas the Fangio scheme and again, this is semi weird, but it's like, it's basically you can go ahead and shoot your gap, but you're still kind of semi-responsible for the other one, as opposed to a pure two-gap scheme where it's like hold up your guy and then you're responsible for making the play or slow down the guy on either side. Is it possible now we've gotten to a point where they need to let Wilkins and Sealer attack at the line of scrimmage? Because that's what we saw a lot last year, is they were getting through the line of scrimmage very quickly. We have not seen that. The off-the-ball linebackers are not exactly blowing anybody away. David Long Jr., Jerome Baker, Duke Riley. And I know Duke Riley got more playing time at the expense of Jerome Baker against Buffalo. I like Duke Riley. Say what?
That was planned. They had planned to get him into the game, according to Fangio.
Oh, no, correct. But I like Duke Riley. He's a nice complementary piece.
Mm-hmm.
Is he an impact player and off-the-ball linebacker? Not really. So, yeah, there's several things that come into play there.
I'm tweeting out the link to the column that I want you to write now, that I want you to read. Click on if you haven't read it, or save it or heart it. I just put it out on Twitter. And here is the laundry list of reasons.
Omar, put it in the chat.
Huh?
Put it in the chat.
Oh.
Duh.
Don't dummy.
Or would you like me to do it for you?
I just okay. I did it. Fine. I didn't. Come on, bro. Just give me a second.
Not really that.
Okay. All right. I just put it in the chat. Now,
how about that?
Failed to post on All Dolphins podcast. Why?
What?
His comment failed to post. Let me do it again.
That's rude.
I mean, I guess they don't want you promoting things. Maybe you have to do it. You do it.
Oh, that's a very good point. Let me try it. That's a good point. Let me try it.
Okay. All right.
Which one am I talking about the scheme, right?
Yeah. Let me go and read to you what the laundry list of issues. One, I gave you a laundry list of reasons why the Dolphins defense is mediocre. Statistically, I'm not trying to bore you. But here's the problem. Bradley Chubb, the one player who knows the defense, has been invisible for all but one game, to the point where they're not getting any pass rush, to the point where Andrew Van Ginkel, a special teamer, he was signed to be a special teamer, is your top pass rushing player. Raekwon Davis is not taking up 2 blocks as a nose tackle is supposed to do. And Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer are getting moved out of their gap. Jalen Phillips can't stay healthy. David Long habitually shoots the wrong gap. And this is verified and has been verified by Vic Fangio for months now, to the point where he doesn't trust David Long. Jerome Baker, too hesitant, does not pull the trigger when he sees it. He's not an inside linebacker. I think we've all known that as Dolphin fans and Dolphins media. He's a weak side linebacker masquerading as an inside linebacker. But because you can't trust David Long, he has to be the green dot player. Xavier Howard playing way too tentative because he's forced to backpedal all the time, that's not necessarily his game. They should be mixing up man and zone, not just all zone. And then Cater, who just got his face beaten in by Stephon Diggs, he's better on the inside. Problem is, you do not have an outside guy. And then the safeties, tons of tackles, where the plays. And don't tell me about these forced fumbles, because as people know from my QM opinion, popping out a ball, that's more luck than skill. And if you don't believe me, watch Javon Holland last week and see how unlucky he got.
Oh, that was ugly. Oh, that was ugly. Oh, that was ugly.
Yeah. I really hate when people say, "Oh yeah, forced fumbles are a skill." No, it's not. It's just luck. It's Yeah, I know you were gonna disagree.
Did you not tell me before we started we need to disagree more? Well, I'm going to disagree with you, because to a certain degree, it is a skill. There are certain guys who have a knack at really being good. There's a reason Peanut Tillman had.
But he only had 40 in his career. If he's good, 40 in a career, I believe it's 12 years. If he's really good, he should be able to do this every other game.
Dude, you make it sound like it's an easy thing to do. I don't disagree with you that there's an element of luck involved, but if there's a skill attached to being able to punch out the ball. I mean, come on. And again, on the play, the second forced fumble against Denver, if you look, you see It was Sutton after a long gain, cuts back inside, and you see Holland behind him, and you see him like he's got his eyes on the ball, literally, and he punches it out. The first one, he just, I mean, like I said, he just went like this. That's a good play. And by the way, just fans, like, spoiler alert, when assistant coaches tell you, well, we practice that all week, every team practices that. Every team practices ball security. They all do that. By the way, somebody in the comments put Bradley Chubb is Charles Harris. Ouch. Ouch.
No, I don't do that to man. Man.
That is
Don't
harsh.
do that. Yeah, that's not nice.
That is harsh.
And Charles Harris has resurrected his career, but he wasn't a very good Dolphins player, and we all know that.
Well, it's not like the Dolphins couldn't have had TJ Watt instead, right? In that draft.
Stop.
Oops, they could have. Finn's RKO9, thank you very much. What can Mike McDaniel do to help with the trust issues between Vic and players? Thank you for the great work. Get well soon now. I'm getting there. I appreciate that. Omar, go ahead. I'll let you tackle that one.
What was the question? I'm sorry. I was trying to
find it. What can Mike McDaniel do to help with the trust issues between Vic and the players?
Convince Vic Fangio to be less rigid and stubborn.
That's a beautiful answer. I completely agree. At some point, it's got to like adapt your scheme a little bit to the players, to what the players do.
And here's the one thing that does bother me, and I say this. Understand, I'm very uncomfortable criticizing Vic Fangio, and I say this all the time. He has forgotten more about football than I have always known. So this is not a respect issue. This is not a he doesn't know what he's doing. Come on, the man is very well respected throughout the industry, and as Austin Clark says, like nearly 1/4 of the NFL is running some semblance or version of his defense. Correct. Now, does that mean I like the defense? No, I don't, because it's too passive for me. It's too tentative for me, and that's not a style of football that I support, believe in. I remember when the Hurricanes were running it, I was like, get that crap out of here. That's not a South Florida style of football. We do not play that way. We do not train our kids to play that way. And if you're doing it, you're not using your athletes and their aggressiveness to their advantage. And you're really making them play in a way that they're uncomfortable. And that's really what's happened to this defense. You're forcing them to play in a way that they're uncomfortable. And then when they revert to their old ways, you slap them on the hand and say, bad defender, bad defender. And it's like, maybe you need to marry both approaches. And I've always felt like the right approach for this defense was for Fangio was to adapt and morph some of the things that he saw from them, but he didn't look at the film because he didn't need to, which I thought was just sheer arrogance. If you want to see what your players do well, you might want to actually look at how they perform. No, I didn't need it. Didn't need any of that. And you've heard that, right? Multiple times.
Yeah, I think he has said he didn't want to do that because he didn't want to have a prejudged.
But yes, but how about you actually look at what they do well?
Oh, I don't disagree. And here's the thing: is for 3 or 4 years, the Dolphins selected players to fit the uber aggressive style of defense they were playing under Flores and Josh Boyer, and all of a sudden they go to this more passive style. And
like that does not. Okay, and then you go look at the film of Andrew Van Ginkel because you need to see if he fits. Okay, and you say, "Oh, he fits. Like I got to have him." Do your other players fit? And then if they don't fit, then we're just collateral loss, and we're just purging the roster here and there, and this place and every place. That's not helpful.
Except the argument there that could be made is the reason he did that with Van Ginkel is Van Ginkel was a free agent; he wasn't technically in the roster.
But you should have done it. Did you look at Xavier Howard's play? Did you talk to him? Xavier Howard was playing on a growing injury. And now you have concluded, based on the fact that he was playing on a growing injury and because he has a bad Pro Football Focus grade, that he can't shadow a player? Like, really? Like, are you serious? So you're telling me you want to watch Cater get slaughtered every week against the elite receivers? So when Devontae Adams comes here and A.J. Brown comes here, it's Cater for the slaughter, correct? Is that what we're doing? Is that the wise approach?
No, it's not the wise approach. And this is where information is power. It would have hurt nothing for Fangio to look at the tape, even if he was going to dismiss it. At the very least, have that information. Omar, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I absolutely, positively cannot resist this question. Sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. Carlos, Poop, Lamb Lies Down or Selling England by Genesis. And Omar's probably right now thinking, what in the hell is he talking about? Those are two albums by, remember I told you about prog rock? Genesis is one of the ultimate prog rock bands. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is Selling England by the Pound. Easy choice for me, Carlos. Selling England by the Pound. And quick story about Genesis because it's a personal story for me and it warms my heart. My favorite song by Genesis is off the album A Trick of the Tail. It's called Ripples. And then when it comes on, my daughter and I sing it together, and she's come to love it as one of her favorite songs of all time. And
what is this? I'm going to listen to it. What is it called?
It's called Ripples. I'm going to get the feeling you're going to absolutely hate it.
Ripples by Genesis?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when the first time she showed me that she was liking the song, I was like, I almost cried. That was one of my
proud moment for you.
Okay. It was such a beautiful moment. So anyway, I had to answer that.
Okay.
Thanks for finally unblocking Patrick Omar. It's about time, you meanie.
Secondly, if the discord continues into the season with the defense and Fangio, can Mike McDaniel handle it personality wise? Will he back players or Vic? This is where you need a therapist.
That's a good question, though.
Yeah, this is where you need a therapist in this situation, because I am at the point, and Mike said early in the week, and I knew exactly what he was referencing to. Every decision that's made is greenlit by me because ultimately I'm the one responsible for this team and for the wins and losses. It goes on my record. So every decision that was made, which includes Xavier not shadowing Stephon Diggs, it was my decision, and I take ownership for it. Now, my concern is that Mike McDaniel, and I've seen him be aggressive. He doesn't carry on like he carries on with the media, excusing everything with his players. I think he holds them accountable, but he's a player's coach. And the point that I made in the column, and I do encourage you to read it. Were you able to put the link in, by the way?
But I was.
Oh, okay. The point that I made in the column is, if an offensive coach is responsible for looking at the skill sets of the players that he has and building an offense around those skill sets, why is a defensive coach greenlit to say, this is the scheme, I'm not changing my scheme, this is how we're going to play, and I don't really care if it doesn't fit your skill sets, this is what we're going to do? How does that connect? Aren't you supposed to, on defense as well, look at the skill sets of the players that you have and say, this is how I play them or utilize them to their strengths? For instance, and we need to adapt their strengths. Perfect example, Sam Anderson was a press cornerback. That's who he was, a press cornerback. And look at J.C. Jackson. Horrible failure because he went into a system that asked him to do something that he wasn't comfortable with, nor did he learn to excel at. Let's not make this about Xavier, because I can personally tell you there's nobody on this defense that's playing well, except for Andrew Van Ginkel. That's it. And y'all could sit up here and sing Javon Holland's praises. Tell me the plays that he's made.
2 forced fumbles against Denver. Sorry.
Okay. Cool. And I anyway, let me stop, because everybody's gonna make this about, I already got enough beef. As I always say, I already got enough beefs. I'm not trying to create a long list of beefs.
You're a hater.
Yeah. I laugh because I haven't been in I haven't been in a locker room since before COVID. Two of them's class 2020. I wasn't in the locker room. 2020, 2021. And this is my first year back in the locker room. And I go to a player who I really never had a private conversation with. And he's like, "What do you want, Omar?" I'm like, "One, how do you know my name?" He's like,
"Everybody knows Omar."
And I was just like, I haven't even been around here. But I get it.
Was it a nice, "What do you want, Omar?" Or was it like,
no,
"The
it
hell
wasn't
do you
a
want?"
nice "What do you want, Omar"? No.
It was like, "What the hell do you want?"
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell me. You're gonna have to tell me off air who it was.
I tell you anyway. I'm not like that. But it was, But my point is, like, there's nobody on defense playing well. Like, name me the player playing well. They have a bottom dweller unit, 27th ranked. Like, and the expectation was Vic was going to come here and Vic was going to fix everything.
Yeah.
Truth of the matter is, Vic has come here and he's made everything worse. Where's the lie?
Can I jump in with a point here?
Go ahead, please do.
It actually just dawned on me here. Like, we remember how wanted Vic Fangio was around the NFL at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that Dolphins made him the highest paid DC in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that it's entirely possible that Fangio signed here was saying, "You let me run my defense. You don't tell me what to do."
Mm-hmm. And if he decides that he's not comfortable, doesn't want to be here, he just picks up and leaves. And they let him out his contract, because what choice are they going to have? So
correct.
He's got all the juice and all the power, and acts like it. And
that's kind of what happens when you want somebody so bad that you're willing to maybe make some certain concessions that maybe you shouldn't. I don't know.
And I don't know who's right or who's wrong, because Vic Fangio says, and I do believe him, I could show you plays where you do what I ask you to do, you do what I want you to do, and it works. But then I'm sure the players can respond, I can show you plays where we do what you asked us to do, we do it perfectly, and it doesn't work. And I'm unfortunately, right in this situation, I'm just a messenger.
Yeah. And then there are plays where they don't do what they're supposed to do and they get gashed.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of, thank you, Mike. And then we kind of like answered your question a little bit here. You guys think Fangio will change his defense for the players that he has instead of the players that he wants to play to our strengths? Yeah. Tough to say. I would hope if the defense continues to struggle, I would hope he's smart enough and do I dare say humble enough to realize that maybe I don't have the players to work my scheme this particular season. Let me incorporate more of the things they did last year, and then we'll do, full on my scheme next year after an off season where some guys will go who maybe are not great fits into the scheme, and then bring in some players who are.
And I also will say this, and this is something that has been mentioned to me. If you have all these players out here trying to get new contracts and they need splash plays, you don't think there's a temptation to go out there and get those splash plays instead of having it just come to them?
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, if that's it's human nature. But if that's the case, yeah. And a lot of times though, you get the best out of players we're in the contract year. But I can see your point. For example, Christian Wilkins probably wants sacks to raise his market value.
I don't talk about Christian Wilkins. So I'm referring to everybody else.
I'm throwing out examples. But if you look at on offense, well, we're talking strictly defense right now. So Raekwon Davis, what stats is he really going to go for?
Not just Raekwon Davis. You look at Javon Holland. He's in a contract year. You look at
he's going to be eligible for an extension next year.
No, he's in a contract year right this very minute.
20. Oh,
he's
right,
not.
right.
He's not playing.
No, he's going into his fourth year next year.
Yeah, and he's not playing in 2024 without a new deal.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to go for an extension, but he's not in a contract year technically.
But he's in a contract year right now.
Okay.
He's playing for money right now. You look at it. Jalen Phillips is up for contract extension. Jerome Baker knows he's going to be cut. Xavier knows he's going to be cut. Emmanuel Ogba knows he's going to be cut. David Long realizing he's going to be cut. Huh?
Cuttable contract after 1 year.
Yeah, so there's Zach Sealer and Bradley Chubb, Andrew Van Ginkel contract year, and Kader Kohou, and that's an uncomfortable spot for a lot of people to be in. But this is part of the byproduct of pay for play, putting players in pay for play situations, and I don't know if that's necessarily on Vic Fangio, but it is what it is. This is the NFL. Put your big boy pants on. But I can tell you this: if they don't get better against the run, some people aren't going to get paid. If they don't get better against the pass, some people aren't going to get paid. If they don't create more turnovers, not going to get paid. So they know they got to deliver. The problem is that they're saying, trust me, trust me, trust me. And when they do these trust, as Mike McDaniel calls it, and I love the term, a trust fall. If I'm doing a trust fall, which is, the whole, you fall backwards and the group of people are going to be here to catch you. If I do a trust fall and keep falling and busting my head open, like eventually I'm not going to trust you to catch me. And I think that's what's happening. That's what you're seeing happen. Now you've got 2 games against 2 bad teams that will hopefully help you start to reestablish some confidence. But what if it doesn't?
Would we dare call them get right games?
I won't call it get right games.
I will. You damn well know I will. Smelyansky, thank you. Do you see Kendall Lamb getting an extension and taking left tackle? He's not taking left tackle if Teron Armstead is in the lineup. Not happening.
Please, people, stop trying to run Teron Armstead out of here. Stop.
He's not cuttable for 2024 anyway. He's just flat out not. And if he can play, he's in the lineup, and there's not even a millisecond of thought that going through Mike McDaniel's head of should I know it? No, not happening. Oh, I got to do this again. Patrick Allen, Dance on a Volcano. You know what? Not one of my favorite tracks at all. That's another Genesis song. Okay. It's good, but
is Genesis the group that had who's the lead singer of Genesis that branched off and went on and did his own thing?
They had 2 who did that. Peter Gabriel used to be their lead singer, left. Phil Collins, who had been their drummer, started singing. He's the lead singer on the song Ripples that I mentioned earlier.
Damn, a drummer was a lead singer?
Don Henley, the Eagles, another one. Omar, we're gonna teach you some musical. Mike Best, would you trade Armstead for a stud linebacker?
Hell no.
Not only that, all due respect to Teron Armstead, who is going to pay him? Who's going to trade for him with that contract, which still has pretty big money in salary, even though a lot of the bonuses have been.
I'm not trading Teron Armstead.
No, and stud linebacker. That ship has sailed for the Dolphins to me last year, and Omar, I knew you and I weren't like in proximity at that time, but it was like when Roquan Smith was available, I'm like, oh, dudes, go get that guy. Go get that guy. Say what?
I said you were foaming at the mouth, huh?
Well, I don't know if I go that far, but I like me some Roquan Smith quite a bit.
Teron Armstead is going to make $14.2 million next year. He's got $5 million of that money is guaranteed. It's not an immovable contract, but it's certainly not an easy contract to move. And honestly, I'm telling you, you're better with Teron Armstead than you are without him. Kendall Lamb, just make sure he's here as the backup. When Teron Armstead's in the game and Teron Armstead is good, really good. If you think you rush for 350 yards without Teron Armstead, you are smoking that thing.
Well, and here's the other thing too is for teams around the NFL who would be looking to do that, his injury history is not leaving because he goes from the Dolphins to another team. So that right there is red flag. I don't think a team would take that chance. I'll let you tackle this one, Omar. No doubt. Thank you very much. My 5-year-old daughter asked for a Finns jersey. Very proud moment. Should I get her Tua or Waddle?
You definitely got to get her Tua. Absolutely.
You got something against Waddle now? Cool. Waddle hater. Waddle hater.
Love Waddle. Why wouldn't Tariq be an option?
No.
I'm curious. I need a follow up on no doubt. Why wouldn't Tariq be an option? I would definitely get her a Tua jersey. I think he's going to be here. They're absolutely obsessed with him. So, and he'll be the highest paid player in the NFL next year.
He won't, but okay.
He will. He will.
No, but okay. If you actually think he's going to get more cash than Burrow or Herbert, I think you're the one that's smoking the funny stuff. Sorry.
He will.
Okay.
When he's the MVP, of the league, which I have an opinion that he will be, it's either him or Josh Allen. You know,
can we let the season play out already? Jeez.
I'm just like, Josh Allen finally took him from the top spot.
Okay. It's a very tiresome conversation for Nick. I am just going to relay what somebody said without commentary. Nick Wright, who is a national commentator who's on sports talk shows, basically said in his opinion, and I don't think he's crazy, saying, how can you be the MVP when you're not the best player on your team? And he mentioned 2 players.
Who? Tyreek and who?
Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, so he lumped in Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
Okay. It's fair.
Okay. But again, long season to play out. And we also, Nick Wright also may understand it's a quarterback award. It's like the Heisman, which is the most stupid award in the history of awards, in my very humble opinion. It goes, write it down right now. It's going to be the quarterback from a top 5 team. I mean, it's just woof. I don't know if it's before your time. I don't know when you covered but Brian McKinney, that one year he played left tackle at and completely, I mean, he smothered Dwight Freeney like a blanket the entire game. And Dwight Freeney was like a stud pass rusher the entire year. That's all he did. And I think it was Gino Toretta or I forget Gino Toretta who won the Heisman. Nice player, but he may have been the 7th best player on the team.
No, Gino Toretta was Brian McKinney was Dorsey's quarterback.
No. I'm gonna look it up. I could be wrong.
No, Brian McKinney was Dorsey's quarterback. I know. I covered that team. Yeah.
You did? Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Gino Toretta's years before that. Ions. Gino Toretta was
yeah, no, you're right. I think you're right. My bad.
Was Steve Erickson. Was Erickson.
Dennis Erickson.
Yeah.
But my point was that Brian McKinney, his senior year at UM was just a complete joke. How dominant he was.
But he still wouldn't have been the MVP. It should have been Ed Reed. Ed Reed was the MVP of that team. But anyway.
Okay, but my point is they went to the quarterback because it's all about the quarterback. Anyway, Pride 909, thank you. One thing I can say about Holland performs better than when there's better corner help, like when Byron Jones was here. Well, he only had Byron Jones for 1 year in 2021, which I don't believe was Byron Jones's.
Let me address the cornerback play.
Cornerback, go ahead.
Okay, let's just hear this out. Okay, you're playing zone, which means you start out and you're backpedaling. You're backpedaling, then you got to turn and play.
In your case, you're back rolling. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, then you got to turn and then play man or zone. Protect your zone or stay with your man, who you have no idea where he's going because you've just not backpedaled watching the quarterback for the first 5 steps of the play. How successful do you think I could be at that if there's no pass rush? And a quarterback has all day to throw. Do you think that sets me up to win or lose?
Can I interrupt with breaking news, as somebody pointed out?
Yeah.
C-Dal, I pointed out, and I just saw it here. Adam Schefter, sources to ESPN, Jonathan Taylor and the Colts reached agreement on a 3-year, $42 million contract extension, including $26.5 million guaranteed.
Okay.
So I guess he's not going to get traded to the Dolphins.
No.
I'm joking that ship has sailed.
They just did the negotiations for them.
Exactly. And it's shocking that a player who asks for a trade and all that winds up going back to his old team, just like Lamar Jackson. And who else did that this offseason?
Nah, he was really done. But then
sure. Yeah, it was really done until they're going to show him the money. How badly do you think the Falcons are
so tell me the numbers on this deal again?
3 for 42, 26.5 guaranteed.
So it's a 3-year extension. So it's a 4-year deal for 42. So he's going to get 42. He's going to get just under 10. And what's the guaranteed numbers?
26.5.
So he's going to get 13 a year, not counting what he's making this year. So he's probably going to get so it's a 2-year, 13 a year deal, which is relatively fair because as I've reported back when we were pursuing Dalvin Cook, who's having a disaster of a season in Denver because, nobody got to defend the pass.
In the Jets, you mean?
Yeah, Jets.
The Jets.
The highest paid running back in the NFL in terms of real money, which is all I report. I don't report fake money. I report what's going into your bank account. Not all that fake garbage. I report what's going into your bank account. Is Christian McCaffrey at $12 million a year. So if Jonathan Taylor just jumped over that $12 million a year and got to 13, props to him. And his agent.
No, and that team's got some possibilities moving forward because I told you this if you remember.
Oh, the Colts?
I told you this if you remember after I got my eyeballs on Anthony Richardson, one of his preseason games, I was like, that kid's got something. And you were kind of gave me the typical Omar, sure.
I don't do scrambling quarterbacks. Not my thing.
Josh Allen's a scrambling quarterback. Lamar Jackson's just a scrambling quarterback.
I don't do them. If you
so you don't like Lamar Jackson?
I wouldn't have drafted either of those quarterbacks.
You don't like Josh Allen?
I'd like him now that he's accurate, but I wouldn't have drafted him because he wants to scramble. And until he breaks that habit, he'll never be the quarterback that he has a potential to be. And Lamar, great player. Wouldn't have drafted. I would have Adam Gase the situation. Not my quarterback.
You would have Adam Gase the situation. Okay.
True. Adam Gase didn't want
him.
Let those kids live.
No, actually, that's my mother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
You just come with a very nice surprise.
You visit. Just told your mother-in-law, shh.
Well, no, I don't want her to saying,
it's like, Mom, I'm working over here. Quiet down. Get my meatloaf ready.
I'm of the opinion that half of the people will be like, oh, that's a nice moment. And then half the people will be like, who cares about that? Talked about the Dolphins. I adore my family. I love my wife, love my kids, love my mother-in-law, love my cats, everybody. But
cat. I can't believe you're a cat guy.
Oh, love my cats. So
anyway, finicky and moody.
I got a cat who thinks he's a dog. I mean, he literally will jump on our lap constantly. Mike, thank you again. If the Dolphins play this season and beat teams like Denver, Chargers, and New England, but lose to Eagles, Cowboys, Bills, and finish 12-5, does that show that they are not Super Bowl bound, or is playoffs a new season?
Who cares if they're Super Bowl bound or not? Who cares if they can't beat Super Bowl teams?
Mike cares, and it's a completely legitimate question. If
12-5 is a very 12. You haven't done 12-5 in 2 decades.
You know why? You know why, Omar? Because they haven't played a 17-game season. That only started 3 years ago. The last time they won 12 games, though, unless I'm severely mistaken, was 1990 when they were 12-4.
Look at Rain Man.
Thanks. But it's a completely valid point, Omar. It's okay for fans. It's okay for fans to look down the line and think about those things. And Mike, if the Dolphins don't hang with those teams who are quote unquote Super Bowl contenders, yeah, it's really hard to imagine you're going to get into the playoffs and all of a sudden make a Super Bowl run.
All it takes is all get to the dance. I get you. I get you, Mike. One, enjoy the ride. Number one,
enjoy the ride. But that's
enjoy the ride. Number one. Okay, yeah, we can sit here and we can bookmark the Eagles game. We can bookmark the Chiefs game. We can bookmark the Dallas game. We can bookmark the Ravens game. We can bookmark the Buffalo game. If we don't win those games, we're not good. We're not real. We're not contenders, bro. Like, bro, get to 12. That's a great accomplishment. Win a playoff game, no matter who it is. First time you've done it in 2 decades. And then we'll see how things shake out. You never know what injury some team, like look at last week. Buffalo just lost their starting cornerback. Like at some point, Kansas City could lose Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. You never know. Like you could lose Teron Armstead. Well, you almost lost him.
Bad example.
You could lose Xavier Howard tomorrow for the season. And God knows I would hate for that to happen, knock on wood, but it would change the complete complexity of your team. Like the complete, utter panic. And like ain't nobody coming to rescue you. Like you can't do nothing with that. Like enjoy the ride. Like enjoy the ride. Like
I'm sorry, but
knocked out for the season tomorrow or the next week. Like, and then this is Mike White's team. Enjoy the 12-win ride. Like they're 12-point favorites about to play a playoff team with no offensive line. And that's what I'm saying. You could go into next week's game and not have an offensive line for a month. Like, you never know.
I know, but Omar, the only issue I have right now with you is you're suggesting that Mike is not enjoying the ride. Is it possible for him to enjoy the ride?
Why worry and obsess that you can't beat these playoff teams, these Super Bowl contenders? Are you a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Not really, but I've said that. You're like, what do you need to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender? You need a legit defense. Have you had one? No.
Again, 4 games. 4 games.
You need Teron Armstead. Like, that's it. A legit defense, Teron Armstead. Hopefully you get Teron back.
4 games.
Okay. So you put it right now. Put your mother-in-law's life on the line. Are the Dolphins a Super Bowl contender?
I'm sorry, what?
I said your mother-in-law's life is on the line. Are the Dolphins a Super
Bowl
contender?
Whoa. No. Joe, what happens if the team loses the next 2 games? Oh, Panic City.
Woof. Oh my God, yeah.
Panic City.
Absolutely panic.
Alert, red alert.
I mean, if injuries factor into it, then okay. But yeah, as there are no get right games. Are you crazy? Like anybody could get anybody in the NFL. Anybody could get anybody.
4-0.
Carolina got somebody. Who'd they get?
They got Bryce Young, who is, and it's already looking since we. No, I don't think fans like to compare quarterbacks who are drafted one after the other. But I'll go ahead and do it in this particular case. I think Carolina right now may be having a little bit of buyer's remorse that they took Bryce Young when C.J. Stroud's looking a hell of a lot better. With injuries up the wazoo on the offensive line. And by the way, one guy who's completely balling out for Houston. Yes, you saw him up close during the joint practices when you weren't like what's the word? When your view wasn't obstructed by all the people in front, was Nico Collins.
Yeah. I did like him. Houston was their wide receivers were getting off. I didn't think CJ Stroud was very good, and I wouldn't have drafted him either. For the record,
you're a hater. You're such a hater, man.
I don't like scrambling quarterbacks.
Okay,
like you got to be like Russell Wilson.
Is Patrick Mahomes not a scrambling quarterback? No,
he's like Russell Wilson. He's not. He will scramble, but he doesn't look to scramble first.
Dude, time out. Other than Lamar Jackson, where under the previous offensive coordinator, they were calling like scripted running plays for him 10 times a game. Who is like looks to scramble for? Josh Allen doesn't look to scramble first.
He used to. He doesn't look to scramble first. I'm saying if your first read isn't there, here's my definition of this. If your first read isn't there, is your proclivity to go to your second read and your third read, or is your proclivity, my first read isn't there, I'm scrambling? That's my line.
Whatever works, because Patrick Mahomes, I'm pretty sure won the game against the Jets on Sunday night with 2 long scrambles.
Well, yes, and I'm okay if you. I want you to scramble twice a game, and I would subscribe to that even with Tua. Tua, you have a green light to scramble twice a game for first downs. I think that's a cheat, and I support every quarterback doing it. Supported Ryan Tannehill doing it. Support Tua doing it. But if my thing is, you got to be able to read the field, and you got to move off your first read. If your move off your first read move is run, not my quarterback. I can't do it. Can't play with you. Can't work with you. Not interested in coaching you. Not interested in having you play for my team. Because ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to have to evolve as a quarterback. And when you do not evolve as a quarterback, then we can't do nothing with you. Then you're Robert Griffin III. And or
oh my God, the guy had basically his knee exploded. I'm not sure.
But you're getting to my point. At a certain point, you lose your athleticism like Cam Newton does. You take too many hits like Josh Allen is worried about, and then you lose your athleticism, and you cannot scramble anymore. And then you do what?
Wow. In certain cases, I agree with you. Josh Allen can throw the ball. I'm sorry. I hate
No. Josh Allen is kind of the exception because he's trying not to scramble, but he's proclivity. The number one criticism is he likes to play hero ball, which, and his scrambling is part of his hero ballism. He's also,
and he didn't do it. It's when he tries to force things that aren't there. And he didn't. It's when he tries to force things that aren't there, and he didn't do that Sunday. And he basically played a flawless game.
Because Stephon Diggs was open the whole game.
He wasn't the only receiver that he connected with, and
perfect passer rating. You're correct.
It wasn't like the Dolphins ever came close to.
I wonder how many times he's had a perfect passer rating.
I believe that was his first of his career.
Wonderful. He's your daddy.
Oh, no question. James, thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
Dolphins should be expecting child support from Josh Allen. Wow. I should have used that as an opening line of my column. Yeah. He just owns Miami. Okay, and I still haven't got to the root of the what? You know that the Dolphins have a shirt with the little avatar. The emoji.
Well, yeah. What was that about?
I asked questions and it just confused me even more. Like they're wearing the shirts now, and I have no idea what the hell that means.
Because the perception was that it was a reaction to Buffalo being favored after they won by 50. And then with Tua's comments after the game, that kind of maybe added a little bit of fuel to
that. Wasn't what the shirt is about, but they're not telling you what the shirt is about. But that's not what the shirt is about. Awesome. But Stephon Diggs certainly took it that way. And Josh Allen, when they were sitting there on the sidelines going like this at each other, but I'm still, that'll be something I'll find out years later. Like what, and Dolphins always have these hidden meaning shirts that are just team issued only and all that kind of cool stuff.
It's for them and not for, but I mean, there were certain ones that they'll fill us in on what it's for. Like when I wish it were hotter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take that one first and then Duck. Omar, did you see the play? No, I'm sorry. From Omar. Omar, thank you very much. Did you see the play when Trey White tackled Tua and he fell backwards, but this time he kept the back of his head from whiplashing? Are his concussions behind him? I really wish I could tell you absolutely without question. That's the proof right there. Here's the problem. Tre'Davious White is 195 pounds, 200 maybe.
I don't think he's to 195.
No, 190?
Yeah, probably 185.
Okay. It wasn't the same thing as Matt Milano shoving him at Hard Rock Stadium. Now, or the big Futau, I think his name was, the big defensive lineman from the Bengals who spun him around, or even the Green Bay Packers edge defender. Now, having said all that, what?
Morris Day was a drummer? Didn't know that.
Oh, Sheila, he was a drummer. There you go.
Yeah.
Having said all that, there is something to be said about maybe a flukiness to concussions. Look, it's entirely possible he's going to go through the entire season without a concussion. If he doesn't get caught in bad situations, I'm sorry, but if he's got a 320-pound lineman who's ready to whip him down on the ground, there's only so much that the jiu-jitsu training is going to do. And I'm sorry, I think it was Phil Simms, the jiu-jitsu slide. Are you serious? Really? I don't know if you heard that on the broadcast.
I did.
I mean, barf, seriously. Go ahead.
Concussions are never behind him. His hip is not behind him. I watched one hit, and we talked about that earlier in the podcast, where it reminiscent of the injury that he broke his hip on, and I was just like, "Oh, please just get up," and he did, and I was just very thankful for that. His durability will be something that lingers throughout his entire career. He's a small quarterback. That's just the reality of it. Damian Phillips asked, "Where is Gase?" Let me fill you in. Based on what I've heard, Gase is he's like coaching his son's youth league, living here in South Florida, and doesn't really have a need for money and day trades. And whenever he's ready or willing to get back in the game, he'll get back in the game. I know that he had a conversation with the Patriots, but chose not to do that. And when he's ready to work, and he's so reminiscent of Mike Martz. They're just two peas in a pod. And you know, they're fine being out the game. And really, Gase is an acquired taste. I personally like the taste. But he's an acquired taste. And you know, Dolphin fans want to poo-poo all over Gase like he did a horrible job. And truth of the matter is, Gase isn't here because his team quit on him. And it happens.
Yeah. Well, part of it, again, was player relations, which is kind of what Flores out the door as well. Although it was a different situation. It was a different situation.
Tua. Okay, that's fair.
Flores,
but I don't think he had much of an issue with other players outside of Tua.
Or maybe people in the building. So I'm sorry, interpersonal relationships.
Interpersonal relationship, yes. No, Gase's players quit on him.
Correct.
Yes.
Make throwbacks permanent.
Interpersonal relationships.
Make throwbacks permanent. You are one severely persistent dude. And I don't know how many times Omar is going to tell you that it ain't happening. But I love the fact that you are pushing that agenda all over the place. By the way, only a couple more weeks. October 28th. No, October 29th. Patriots game. You're wearing the throwbacks.
Carlos says we missed a super chat from him.
Oh, let's.
I'm gonna. Okay, Carlos. Ripples is beautiful. Filth of Fifth is my favorite.
Firth of Fifth. That's my second favorite Genesis song. That's also an absolute all-timer.
God, what's up with these Genesis songs?
And Omar's like, great call. Great call.
I did have a phase where I listened to rock music for a good couple of months, and I believe Genesis was one of the groups that I liked.
Yeah, but what version?
I don't.
Give me a time frame.
No, I was just listening to old stuff, so I couldn't tell you any version. People would recommend if people followed me for a while, they'd recommend group, because I was trying to figure out what kind of rock or genre that I liked. Because I'm like a No Doubt kind of guy. I like No Doubt. I like Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and people
we're talking. Saying, there we go.
People were saying "Oh, you like," I forget what type of music they said I liked, which is the sissy rock music, and I was just like, "Oh, I like what I like."
I'm sorry, Pearl Jam, sissy rock, really?
I forget what it is that they called it, or something.
It's either grunge or alternative. Pearl Jam, I think we call it grunge. No, the reason I bring up Genesis had two completely different style, where they were progressive rock for, I don't know, let's say the first 12 years of their career, and then they went into pop mode. And if it's pop mode, I'm not on board with that.
All right, people are complaining. Toby says that will you guys please answer our questions? Sometimes you signed off, and let's kill every single question.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Mal be crazy. Yep, Omar Josh Allen owns Miami now, just like Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, and Andre Reed used to own them in the late 80s, early 90s.
He didn't own them. They just kept making it to the playoffs.
Dude, are you serious?
I am serious. Did
Mal, I'm with you on that one. Sorry. Yes, the Bills of those years used to own the Dolphins. Absolutely.
they
Dolphins,
swept the series?
sorry?
Did they always sweep the series?
But more often than not, but they won the division a few years in a row. But all right.
All right. Poop isn't a win. Mike. Okay, go ahead. You do your thing because you're the one that's.
I'm gonna do the okay. Here we go. I'm trying to get to all of them as historically.
I thought we've done all of them. What happens if the team loses?
Dana, sorry, Poupar Genesis is Sissy Rock. But I don't think we can be friends anymore. Sorry, bud.
See, you might like Sissy Rock. Yeah, it's something. It's like they kept saying something that I like was like Sissy Rock or like I can't even. I was like well, I like what I like.
No doubt, yes, Sissy Rock.
See, what is this with the Sissy Rock stuff? Like, damn, I like what I like.
Alternative rock for Pearl Jam, that works. Brady never ran and he has 7 rings. Marino never ran and he's in the Hall of Fame. So, okay, I'm not exactly sure what the point is there, but okay.
I swear to God,
I'm going through all of these right now. It might be the last time we go through them, but there we go. Genesis, one of the greatest bands of all time, and the musicality of that band is rarely matched. Carlos, you are the man. McDaniel, much better than Gaze. Toby, will you guys please answer our questions? Dude, we try our very, very best to answer every single thing.
Michael Longman, shout out to you. I appreciate you for listening, and I appreciate everybody for listening on a regular basis. We're trying to do the best we can, and we are working very hard to ramp up the podcast, and hopefully you'll see that in the next 2 weeks to make this a better product for you. In the comments section, if you have a recommendation like the channels thing, which I've never even heard of or thought about, we'll do that. Omar, did you rock the Jimmy Butler emo haircut?
Oh, I want to see that. I want to see
Cal City. I think I have like my high school reporter ID here somewhere. Anyway, no, no, I've never had my hair straightened, and Jimmy had a whole bunch of split ends that he needed to chop off to have healthy hair.
Okay, Toby, we're trying not to ignore anybody. We just got a ton of comments, and I apologize if we skip anybody. I'm going over the whole thing right now. So
Ronell Ulysses, you're right. Tua is a short QB. He's not a small QB. That is fair and accurate. Because he thick. That boy thick.
He's thicker than he used to be. Okay. Bills defense will never respect Tua taking off and running. They'll always just pin their ears back. Tua can scramble for a little bit. He can't. He's not going to kill you like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen scrambling, but he can pick up a first down when he needs to. Mike, Poop isn't a fan of one-loss record, but don't you think if anyone keeps track, it should be kickers? How many games have they won and lost? Sanders stinks. And I'm sure there's analytics somewhere of like game-winning kicks, game-tying kicks, and how kickers perform, and absolutely. But even then, that doesn't account. This is the problem with analytics. That doesn't account for a bad snap, doesn't account for pressure from the side, doesn't account for bad hold. But as a whole, absolutely. Philly's secondary is very beatable. They have run Fangio's scheme with their DC Vero, and they've been struggling. They're also 4-0. And what worries you about the Eagles is their front four, not their secondary. The players hate Fangio's passive scheme. Yep. I like how Tyreek plays. He's always protecting his body on the field. Absolutely. He's one of those guys like Marcus Allen was another guy who had a reputation. He was kind of a tall, slender running back. Never took like big direct hits. That's why he lasted so long. And you looked at his body and you never thought he would.
I got game. NJ asked, if Liam starts at center, are we in big trouble? Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
They're not losing that game, people. They're not losing.
That defensive line from the Giants is the best part of their team. If you start Liam Eichenberg at center, you're done.
Okay, so they'll win 24-13 instead of 34-13.
24-17.
Though you have, they're not scoring 3 points. Okay. I'll just plop him in there, Omar, and go ahead. Question, Omar, just because Fangio is hard on players, why do the players take it so personal when they get paid good money?
Fangio's hard on his – I don't think Fangio's hard on his players. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think that that's accurate. I think players like to be heard and respected. And if I give you just a simple example, and I hate to use this as an example, but it's the easiest one on the present examples. If I come to you and I say, hey, we're getting beaten by Stefan, I would like to shadow him. And my position coach gives me the green light, and then the defense coordinator says, stop that, go back to what you're doing. Is that a sign of respect? Players want to be respected.
Is that a sign of disrespect, though? It's a sign of it's. I don't know. That's a tough call.
If you just got your face beaten in, and you're trying to stop and give your team a chance to win, yes, it's just a sign of disrespect.
Yeah, but there's a reason Fangio's a boss and you're not.
Okay, that doesn't mean that you're always right.
Correct. This is one
of those instances where Fangio was dead wrong.
Fair. Does Vic report to McDaniel or Greer?
Vic reports to McDaniel. Vic is here because of his relationship with McDaniel, not Greer. Even though Gailey was here because of Greer, that's not the case in this instance. Your actual head coach is able to hire his own staff, which Flores was not always.
Let's see here.
I feel Omar on this. Okay, I don't know what you feel me on.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. We'll acknowledge this. Thank you very much. What Tua is a pure pocket passer, but the dude is still young and does move. Who said otherwise?
And okay.
Who said otherwise?
I don't know. I'm just following you, bro. I'm trying to make sure, because I don't like being criticized for not being answering questions. Like, I could have sworn to you we've killed every single question. I'm literally combing through this chat, and I've killed every single question.
Okay, good. Tell us the Big O story. Is there really a need?
Nah. I got fired.
Apparently, Omar says I got fired too. So
you got fired too.
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, we're trying to.
There were some questions that were asked to me yesterday. I'm gonna and I did answer them, and I'm gonna ask them to you just so that we can
And I got a mailbag coming on alldolphins.com later today. So
look at you.
We'll take care of everybody.
If Jeff Wilson mainly going to be the third down back when he comes back, Chris asked that question. Answer it, Poupard.
If that. I mean, Jeff Wilson's a nice back. Is he a difference maker?
Mike G asked. Go ahead, Mike G asked.
I think the Dolphins make phone calls, see if they can get anything for him, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's fair. Could Claypool get some reps at tight end, Mike G asks?
Not if he doesn't block. He's very fast. Maybe at some point down the line, I certainly wouldn't say early on. I think if and again, by the way, you made a great point, Omar. I mean, props to you yesterday that the dude's in a contract year. He needs to ball out. He needs to be on his best behavior. So Dolphins, if they're going to get the best out of Chase Claypool, either that or there's some issues with him that are not fixable, and his skill set suggests a wide receiver, not a tight end.
Let's go with, is the offense good enough to compete for the Super Bowl? And that's asked by Chris.
And we've said that many, many times. When they're operating right, absolutely.
This is Rico Rough Rider. What's the biggest reason for Waddle's disappearance so far this season?
Missed one game against Denver, which was a stat padding game. Buffalo and New England kind of made sure not to get beat deep. I don't think there's anything like systematically wrong with Waddle that would be a concern.
Devin Jordan asks, Omar, when are you going to have Miko Grimes on the show? Miko is always welcome wherever I go. And in fact, I'm going to go do her podcast sometime soon. And in fact, I'm going to go hang out with Miko this afternoon.
How about that?
How about that? In Fort Lauderdale, we're going to a place. I don't hang out in Fort Lauderdale very often, but I'm going to try out this place that's like a lounge area. I can tell you the name because just in case you guys want to show up if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area. Rhythm and Vine. Fort Lauderdale's turning into like the new Wynwood, and since Wynwood's so busted right now because it's so touristy and corporate, people are trying to find. I'm like telling Poupard like he's gonna go hang out. People are trying to find.
I'm gonna go chill for several more hours to try to see if I can get myself to 100%.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do.
You gotta lay down. You gotta lay down, Poop. So I'm trying to find like where's the new Wynwood, because Wynwood, they destroyed what used to be a magical, beautiful place. So Fort Lauderdale, they have that Seastrunk area, and I'm trying to figure out, what's popping out here on these streets.
I gotta put this one here. Thank you guys, Mike. Thank you guys for all you do. Both the best. I'm a fan for life. Been following Omar for 13 years and just found Poop. Keep up the great work. Well, I'm glad you found me, Mike. Appreciate it. Spread the word. Again, I'm speechless. All I can say.
The last time I remember you on Big O, Poop, you told him, and I am paraphrasing, that his show was a tour propaganda fest, and your show certainly was not. You're right. I remember that exchange. Comments?
I don't recall those. The one I recall, the exchange I recall, which so I'm gonna get into it since it was brought up. What precipitated my end of the departure?
You mean you're firing? Go ahead.
Lord.
What precipitated?
It is amazing how important it is to the. Okay, whatever. Again, if it makes you happy, put a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's kind of that situation. Like, I worked at Circuit City, right? We had this disagreement. Like, they wanted me to work Thanksgiving. I had worked Thanksgiving for 2 previous years, and I wanted to go home to see my family. They said, if you don't work Thanksgiving, don't come back because you don't have a job. And I said to them, okay, you can keep the job because I'm going home to see my family for Thanksgiving. This is when I was in college. So did I get fired or did I quit?
But that wasn't the same thing.
Okay.
Because I literally used the words like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's literally. It was a conversation we had before the start of the regular season where I made the point that first of all, Big O started by saying the Dolphins were a slam dunk to make the playoffs. And I was saying that they're clearly a playoff caliber team, but I wouldn't call them a slam dunk playoff team because there are too many playoff caliber teams in the AFC.
Okay.
And then Big O had the kind of reaction that Big O has and proceeded to point out that how could I be so blind as not to see the Dolphins made a lot of improvements, and what did Buffalo do? And no matter what I mentioned they added a second tight end to help their offense. They beefed up the defensive line. That wasn't what about Baltimore? I mentioned Baltimore. Baltimore sucks. Lamar Jackson
changed the running backs.
Lamar Jackson sucks as a passer, to which I may have pointed out at the time. I'm not sure I did. By the way, he has a higher career passer rating than Tua. Blah, 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 blah. And it basically became 20 minutes of him basically berating me and kind of dumping on whatever I was saying. And literally at the end of the show, I don't recall the Tua propaganda thing. I did say at the end of the show that episode was complete garbage. And I went on a couple of other times. It didn't get that much better. And then it came to a head and it was like, nah, I don't want to do it anymore.
As Poupard, Big O will always be a friend, will always be a colleague, will always be somebody we respect. Unfortunately, now we created a space where we are a competitor. And I've always said there's enough for everybody to eat. And I wish him the greatest amount of success in the world. But I think that the important aspect of podcasting, I've always felt this way, is two people do not have to agree, but they have to be able to have civil discourse and conversations. And you hear me out, I hear you out. We don't even have to agree. We just share our opinions respectfully. And I don't think that happens on a lot of podcasts. I don't think that, and certain people and individuals, not going to call any names, it's always got to be a fight.
Correct. And part of it is shtick. And then the other part of it is, the other issue is like, I'm a guest on your show. Why are you having me on if you're going to keep talking over me every time? So it got to a point where it was like, yeah, no, I was basically dreading every appearance I was scheduled to make. So anyway, I'm with you. Wish him nothing but the best. He's got his style. He's a fan, and I don't think he's ever denied that, and which is fine. But if you're going to have journalists on your fan show, you need to accept the fact that their opinions might not be all like waving the flag for the Dolphins. Sorry. Anyway. Oh my God. I'm sorry if I butcher your name. Pratam. Thank you. Is there a friction between Vic and some of his positional coaches, which are holdovers from Boyer?
Absolutely not.
You're assuming there could be if the position coaches had a lot of juice, and I don't know.
They do whatever Vic says because Vic got the juice. Like, absolutely not. Vic's got the juice, and I think he's got a little bit too much juice, and he's sipping on that juice. I mean, but when you've come from being a head coach and you're used to having all the power, do you really want to go back? But then people would make the argument, well, it took Vic forever to become a head coach because of his personality. And people wondered, well, would that be successful? Will he be successful with that personality as a head coach? And I'm not going to say that that's the reason why he wasn't successful, because I didn't follow that tenure or whatever. And be honest with you, I love the personality. It fits me very well. I love straight shooters.
Same here.
But when you look at I've dealt with Vic and I've dealt with people like Vic, and certain times you get to a certain age, and Poupart's at that age now, where it's like the old guy's just gonna do what he wants to do and he's gonna say what he wants to say, and you just got to deal with it.
I said what I said.
Yeah, and it's like, well, that's not always going to work. And it certainly isn't going to work with this generation of players. And the old school approach that Vic Fangio has, which is like Bill Parcells could not coach in this era. And Vic Fangio is a Bill Parcells peer and has a personality like that. I'm not saying he does passive aggressive stuff like Parcells, but it doesn't necessarily work in this era of players. And I'm not sure if that's a healthy thing or a right thing. And ultimately, you know what fixes it? Having success for the next 2 weeks, getting right, patching your wounds, and then going against the Eagles and putting together a game plan on a team that you very specifically know, and having success there. And maybe people will buy in. But then what happens when they don't buy in? And you have these trust falls where people are like, I'm not falling. I like
situational resistance more than trust fall, I'll be honest with you.
Is that a Mike McDaniel term?
Well, that's mine. I came up with it yesterday.
Yeah, it sounds good as Mike McDaniel's trust fall.
You forgot. Toby, Al, if you covered the Niners in the 80s when Montana had Rice, Taylor, Clark, Craig, and Rathman, would you not give the credit to Joe the way you excused Tua's weapons? How about we have this conversation in, 10 years when Tua's won 4 Super Bowls? While your point has merit, I think if you can't see the benefits of the offense and having those guys with the crazy speed they have and how wide open they make things in the defensive backfield, don't know what to say.
This is one of my most prized possessions. You know how expensive this book was? It was like $100 because it was not being published. I bought this more than a decade ago, probably when it wasn't published. And it's such a tutorial for learning the West Coast offense and the foundations of the West Coast offense. And what people don't realize is that the roots of this offense comes from Mike Shanahan, who worked under Bill Walsh in the West Coast offense. So while this isn't the West Coast offense, a lot of the roots from it are built from the West Coast offense. This book is so educational in terms of great football institutional knowledge. If you really want, I haven't done everything, but a lot of the run plays and outside zone stuff that they do,
nice,
is from this. And it's, you could just see, like, I don't think Mike Shanahan gets the prop. Like, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And if you just look up his background and
coaching tree, I mean, just the coaching tree alone. I mean, seriously.
The coaching tree alone is phenomenal. And right now, his shining star off his tree is Mike McDaniel. And Mike McDaniel will give you holy crap, it's $300 on eBay.
Damn.
Yeah, no, it's a very hard to get.
Toby, by the way, and for the record, and I hope you have noticed, I have given Tua a lot of praise this season. Guys balling out. Okay. If it offends you that I'm not ready to call him a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, I'm sorry. And again, to throw out Joe Montana is a very, very nice comp.
Well, I mean, hold on. You can kind of make the correlation, and I agree with you. Let Tua win some championships before we even have this conversation, because Montana and Young had the best wide receiver of all time. So Tua does have the best wide receiver of this generation.
He also has the fastest team in NFL history on offense. So there's that. And again, maybe also let Tua have a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl when they're down 16-13 against the Bengals, and there was like 3 minutes left.
I wish people keep asking me what shoes I was wearing that Mike shot.
Oh yeah,
at.
That's right.
I try to impress Mike every day because I know
your presence alone impresses him, Omar.
I but I don't do it. We are into similar styles because I think I like his style because his style is my style. So it's the color palettes. It's the, it's hard to explain. So I was wearing Yeezys, and a very specific type of Yeezys. I can't remember. I think they're like 700s, but they're like cream, and but yeah, it's I'm always impressed by his shoes as well.
No,
and his style. It's everything. People don't realize how stylish he is. He's a very stylish man.
Yes, he is. Okay, Omar, I think I'm going to need to go.
Yes, I know.
Do some chilling. You need to go do some lounging in Fort Lauderdale.
No, we got call-ups. I expect a center to be called up because they ain't doing it with Eichenberg again. I mean, with Liam Eichenberg again. No.
You actually think if Connor doesn't play that Eichenberg's not starting? Are you serious?
I'm absolutely dead. I know Connor's going to play, but I believe the backup will be a practice squad player. I believe they're not going to that well again.
If Connor doesn't play, you think Liam Eichenberg is not starting?
No, he's not.
Wow. Okay.
But Connor's going to play.
We started.
Liam Eichenberg is going to be the backup center.
But in my hypothetical, you're saying Liam Eichenberg is not starting at center if Williams winds up being inactive. And we started this live show. Were you like wanting us to disagree more? I could not disagree with you more on that particular point.
You cannot redo that again. If you redo that again, especially against this defense, you're not going to have an NFL player because Liam Eichenberg, he's going to be in the tank.
Okay, then flush him or put him on the market. Then if that's your stance, there's 0 point in keeping him if that's the stance. And to me,
not arguing with you,
the Dolphins are not about to like flush their 2021 second round.
I don't disagree with you on that, but I think that they've realized if we want this young man to have any chance at having success in the NFL, it can't be at center.
Okay, so that's wow. On that note, that's going to wrap it up.
I bet you right now, $5 a cent is active.
Oh, you're right. You're on. Absolutely. Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that and Williams is in the lineup. On that note,
yeah, Williams will be in the lineup, as Mike McDaniel said. He feels like he needs protection against Connor Williams.
Yeah.
I thought that was Mike McDaniel's funniest line of the week, and nobody gave it the respect it was due.
It's funny. I mean, it's like, yeah, players want to play. I know, I get that. We're gonna do a live post game or recap tomorrow. Games at 1, Omar. What time do you figure?
Let's say 5-ish. I do like to hear the press conferences, but I know
5:15.
Yeah, 5:15. Let's rock.
Okay, let's see you then.
Oh damn! I'm actually gonna be in the locker room.
Yes, you are.
All right.
5:30.
I don't know. 5. I'll shoot for 5:15. But
okay, and we'll keep you posted on the chat here, and we hope to see you, everybody, and more tomorrow in the post-game live chat. Thanks everyone for watching.
And I will be on QAM's pregame show starting at 9, as you guys know. I'm appreciative for everybody who listens to that. One of my side mistresses on Poupard. All right.
Now I allow it.
Yeah, we have an open relationship.
Yes, we do. All righty. Like, subscribe, download, all that good stuff. Thanks, everyone.